Speak out loud over there.
Alright, Ernest Gaines once said, "Why is it that, as a culture, we are more comfortable seeing two men holding guns than holding hands?" When I was a young teenager, I met a lesbian couple, and over time, I became really close with them and their families. Ever since then, I've been a huge believer in equal rights, and more importantly, equal marriage rights. I am straight, but I still fully believe that no matter what your sexual orientation is, everyone should have the same rights. I mean, doesn't it even say in our Constitution, all men are created equal? I don't believe that our country is living up to this famous statement by denying gays and lesbians the right to marry. I know that gay marriage is a very controversial topic, but that's why I picked it. I know most of you have an opinion about this topic, but whether you agree or disagree with me, I would like to inform you all a little bit more about this unjust form of discrimination, or this form of unjust discrimination. Today I will be informing you all about Prop 8 and its controversy over the years. I will also be explaining the disadvantages that gay people have by being denied the right to marry, and I will also be expressing my views through a few personal stories. I will be starting off by informing you all about what Proposition 8 is and its controversy. According to usnewspolitics.com, Proposition 8 is a constitutional amendment that was passed with 52% in November of 2008 that eliminated the rights of same-sex couples to marry. This prop defined marriage as being between a man and a woman only. Over the past couple of years, this constitutional amendment has been one of the most controversial topics and has caused many people to wonder if it is constitutional or not. Jerry Brown made a statement in March of 2009 which compared Proposition 8 to a law that was passed in 1964 by 65% of the voters that would have legalized racial discrimination in the buying and selling of houses, but luckily the Supreme Court overturned or struck down this proposition eventually. In his statement, Brown said, "I believe the court should strike down Proposition 8 for remarkably similar reasons, because it unconstitutionally discriminates against same-sex couples and deprives them of the fundamental right to marry." I definitely agree with his statement, because denying same-sex couples the right to marry gives them many disadvantages compared to heterosexual couples. Next, I will be giving you all some of the disadvantages that same-sex couples have. According to the League of Women Voters of California Education Fund, Proposition 8 does not follow the California Constitution by guaranteeing equal protection under the law to everyone. Rather, it singles out one specific group for different treatment. The LWV also states that domestic partnerships are not afforded the same dignity and respect as marriage, and partners don't have the same rights as spouses in many situations, including medical emergencies and when life and death decisions are to be made. Let's say that you're in a domestic partnership and your partner is suffering from a terminal disease, but it's not up to you to decide what's the best thing for your partner, whether it be to put them on life support or to pull the plug. But for couples who are married, they get to decide what's right for their spouse. How is that fair? Plain and simple, it's not. Just because a couple is in a domestic partnership doesn't mean they love each other less. They are still each other's best friend and main supporter, just like in a marriage between a man and a woman. So why do they get treated so unfairly and have such unequal rights? For my last point, I will be giving two personal stories regarding this issue. As a young teenager, I was on a traveling softball team, and you guys know all the terms about softball players, but my coaches were lesbians, and they were in a committed relationship and had been for a very long time. They had 2 children together and were very happy, but the only thing that was missing was being able to make their family official and get married. Seeing them so happy and in love made me realize that just because you are gay, lesbian, or straight, it doesn't mean that love is different, and they should be allowed to get married just like everyone else. My coaches were ordinary people with ordinary lives, just like everyone else, and that's what makes me so angry about denying same-sex couples to marry. They are not any different than heterosexual people, so why single them out and make them feel unaccepted and unworthy of marriage? And over the past couple of years, I found out that my grandma is a lesbian. Ever since she divorced my grandpa, when my mom was around my age, she has been living with her longtime friend. And up until about my junior year of high school, I thought that they were just best friends. But I found out they were lovers, but I didn't think anything differently of them. If anything, I want my grandma to be with someone who makes her happy, and if it's another woman, then that's okay with me, because who am I to deny someone else's happiness? I believe that her lover should be able to make life and death decisions for her, because she's my grandma's main supporter, or just like my dad is to my mom, but she can't because they aren't allowed to marry, and that's why I think Proposition 8 is so unfair. So today I have talked to you guys about what Proposition 8 is and its controversy, explained some of the disadvantages gay people have by being denied the right to marry, and also given you a couple personal stories related to this issue. I really hope that by listening to this speech you have gained some more knowledge about this issue and aren't so quick to judge or jump to conclusions about gay marriage. I feel that everyone should be able to love whoever they want, however they want, and I feel that if it's not harming me in any way, then why is it such a big issue? I strongly believe that our country is not living up to the famous saying that all men are created equal by denying homosexuals the right to marry. I feel that everyone who is against same-sex marriage should take a step back and look at the bigger picture and decide, with all stigmas aside, if this amendment is really fair to homosexuals or not. Thank you.
So Jessica, what did you think?
In the preview she said to inform, so it seemed like it was informative, but I figured it was probably just to provide background to the speech. And later on towards the end it was more clear that it was a persuasive speech. I thought she had good citation, the personal stories added emotional appeals and made it a better argument.
Yeah, the opening is fine. The subject is clearly identified. I know what she's talking about when she says it sounds like it might be an informative speech, but you do have, a pretty clear point of view, and ultimately you're asking us to look at it that way, and that seems straightforward. There are some in more involved issues that need a little bit more discussion. We need to talk about how strong the need is, what kinds of issues gay couples are faced with. You mentioned a hypothetical example of somebody who's sick, or you having to make a decision on the part of that other person. And we remember when we talked about policy arguments, one of the discussions was, what are the alternatives? Why is your solution better than the alternative? You kind of dismiss domestic partnerships, but from a legal standpoint, I think they have some of the same things that you're talking about. And for instance, the one example that you talk about when it comes to medical care can be resolved with a legal power of attorney. I can get legal power of attorney for any of you and make whatever life or death decision you want me to make for you. I don't have to be married to you at all. So if Chris says, I trust you, Richard, and he signs that, I can make that decision. We don't have to get married in order to make that kind of decision. So you need to talk about why be talking about why marriage is the better option on that and why that works. I thought you delivered the speech very effectively. You look at the audience for the most part consistently. There's good variety in your voice, and I like the examples that you use. They do bring a nice emotional tone to the presentation.